building the digital backbone that transformed Meridian Marketing from a struggling Phoenix agency into a $200 million powerhouse. 4 years of 14-hour days, missed family dinners, and cancelled vacations. I was a senior data architect. The only one who understood every algorithm, every client database, every integration, because I designed it all. The platform. DataSync Pro. A real-time customer analytics engine used by Fortune 500 brands across the Southwest. It was the agency's lifeline. Without it, Meridian would crumble. And yet there I stood, age 38, in the main conference room, surrounded by department heads and fresh-faced interns while CEO Marcus Chen slid a manila envelope across the table. "Linda, we're making some changes," he said like he was discussing the weather. I stared at the envelope, then at Marcus's calculated smile. Around me, uncomfortable shifting. Avoided eye contact. One intern actually smirked. "Effective immediately," he added. "We're restructuring the data team." Yeah, I understood restructuring. But Marcus didn't understand me. I stood, removed my badge, and placed it gently on the table. Then I leaned in. Calm. Controlled. "Then I said slowly, you explain to your clients why DataSync Pro will crash in exactly 12 minutes. Silence. Marcus blinked. "Excuse me?" I smiled. Tight-lipped. Cold. "Check the system dashboard. The countdown's already started." Chairs scraped. The IT director grabbed his laptop. Another manager sprinted toward the server room. The HR rep gasped. And just like that, the panic began. Marcus shot to his feet, knocking over his coffee. "What did you do?" I didn't respond. I didn't have to. I simply straightened my blazer, picked up the box they'd so thoughtfully provided, and walked calmly toward the door. As I reached the hallway, I glanced back just once. Long enough to see the CTO frantically typing, 2 developers running toward the data center, and Marcus jabbing at his phone, probably calling every tech contact he knew. 11 minutes now, I murmured, then kept walking. Let me rewind for a moment. This didn't happen overnight. When I joined Meridian Marketing, it was just 8 of us crammed into a strip mall office next to a nail salon. No major clients, no proprietary systems, just PowerPoint presentations and Excel spreadsheets held together with prayer. I took that chaos and built DataSync Pro. Line by line. Feature by feature. I designed the architecture, optimized the algorithms, and solved the integration nightmares that would have killed any other team. For years, Marcus praised me in company meetings. "Linda's the brain of Meridian," he'd announce. "She's absolutely irreplaceable." But 3 months ago, the tone shifted. My access to financial reports was quietly restricted. Senior staff started having meetings without me. Conversations died when I walked into rooms. I'd seen this dance before. They were preparing for an IPO, bringing in cheaper talent, and pushing me out. Reframed as organizational efficiency. Then I found it. A job posting. My exact title. My responsibilities. Addressed to a recent graduate named Tyler. Half my salary. No real-world experience. Marcus wasn't just replacing me. He was erasing me. My name was disappearing from project documentation, client presentations, and system credits. But I had seen it coming. DataSync Pro wasn't just software. It was a fortress. 3 months ago, I'd embedded a safeguard. Not malicious, just protective. If my admin credentials were revoked without proper authorization, the system would interpret it as a security breach. The response: automatic lockdown. No data loss, no corruption. Just silence. Complete, impenetrable silence. Every dashboard, every report, every client integration. Gone offline. As I walked to the parking garage, voices echoed behind me. Call the backup systems. What does she mean by offline? Is anything even backed up properly? I pressed the elevator button. Calm. Collected. Hand steady. Heart steady. Because Marcus made one fatal mistake. He thought I was disposable. What he didn't realize was that I built everything. And in exactly 10 minutes, he'd learned just how fragile his empire really was without me. By the time I reached my car, I had 9 missed calls. All from numbers I didn't recognize. I slid into the driver's seat and sat quietly, watching the dashboard clock tick down. 0, 0, 0, 0. And right on schedule, DataSync Pro collapsed. Not just the development environment. Not just internal testing. The entire production system went dark. Client dashboards offline. Marketing campaigns frozen. E-commerce tracking dead. Meridian Marketing, the digital darling of the Southwest, had become a blank screen. I could picture it. Marcus staring helplessly at error messages cascading across monitors. Developers scrambling between terminals. Status lights flashing red throughout the office. My phone buzzed again. This time, a number I recognized. Sarah, the operations manager. One of the few decent people in that place. Someone who probably saw this coming. I let it ring. Then declined the call. Let them sweat. I drove home. No hurry. Stopped for lunch on the way. Even chatted with the cashier who had no idea I just triggered a $200 million meltdown. By the time I walked through my front door, my inbox was flooded. 15 missed calls from Marcus. 8 from Sarah. 3 from Jake, the CTO. And 1 desperate text from an unknown number. Please call. Please. Everything's down. We need help. I set my phone on the counter. Ordered Thai food. Opened Netflix. Put on an old rom-com I'd seen a dozen times. The kind where nothing serious ever happens. Because unlike Marcus, I wasn't panicking. 2 hours later, there was a knock. Sharp. Insistent. I checked the peephole. Not security. Not lawyers. Not yet. But there she was. Sarah, breathless. Behind her, Jake the CTO, looking like he'd aged 5 years in one afternoon. I opened the door slowly. Just enough to raise an eyebrow. Well, look who found my address. Sarah looked frantic. Linda, we need to talk. I tilted my head. Last I checked, I don't work for you anymore. Jake rubbed his neck. Look, there's been a misunderstanding. I actually laughed. Which part? The firing? The little ceremony? Or the part where you tried to lock me out of my own system? Sarah sighed, glancing at Jake. Can we come in? Please? I paused, then stepped aside. Shoes off. They shuffled in awkwardly, like kids sent to the principal's office. I sat down, crossed my legs, and waited. Jake started. DataSync Pro. Complete system failure. Full network lockdown. I cut him off. Clients screaming? Campaigns crashing? That about right. He nodded. Dead on. Sarah jumped in. We know we messed up. Marcus acted impulsively. But this can be fixed. I leaned back. Can it? Jake leaned forward. You have to fix it, Linda. This could destroy Meridian. We're talking lawsuits. Millions in damages. He trailed off, realizing how desperate he sounded. I let the silence stretch. Just long enough to sting. Then I said calmly, you're right. It can be fixed. Their shoulders lifted. Hopeful. I smiled slightly. But not without terms. And that was the moment they realized they weren't here to negotiate. They were here to beg. Let me guess, I said. Marcus didn't send you because he's too busy hiding under his desk or screaming at his phone. Sarah glanced at Jake but said nothing. That silence was all the confirmation I needed. I walked to my desk, opened my laptop, and typed a short command sequence. The dashboard lit up. There it was. A wall of red alerts. System failures, authentication chains broken, core operations down, data integrity compromised. Jake leaned in, panicked. Wait, you still have access? I smiled. Of course I do. I built the emergency protocols 2 years ago. Didn't think I'd ever need them, but here we are. I turned the screen toward them. This system isn't broken. It's doing exactly what I designed it to do. Protecting itself. When my credentials were revoked, DataSync assumed hostile takeover. Standard security protocol. Jake flushed. Sarah rubbed her temples. So can you restore it? She asked quietly. I closed the laptop. That depends. I stepped to the window, looking out at Phoenix's skyline. My city. My company. Or at least, the one that should have been mine. It depends on what you're willing to pay, I said, turning back, to reclaim what you tried to take. You're serious? Sarah blinked. Dead serious. You wanted data sync without me. Now you know how that feels. Jake scoffed. This is extortion. I tilted my head. No, Jake. It's business. Marcus taught me that. Silence. Finally, Sarah asked, what do you want? I smiled. We'll get there. But first, don't you think Marcus should be part of this conversation? Jake opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. Because he knew. They both knew. The woman they thought they could erase had just become the one holding every card. 20 minutes later, screeching tires echoed from the street. I didn't need to look. I knew exactly who it was. Moments later, frantic knocking rattled my door. 3 sharp bangs. The kind that says, open up before I kick it down. I let it sit. 1 beat. 2. Then walked over and opened the door slowly. Just enough to see Marcus' chin. Sweaty. Flushed. Collar unbuttoned. The same CEO who'd smirked while firing me hours earlier. Now he looked like a man watching his empire crumble in real time. You think this is funny? He barked, pushing past me without invitation. I didn't stop him. Let him storm in like a toddler mid-tantrum. Sarah and Jake stood to the side, silent. They knew better. Marcus turned, eyes wild. Turn it back on. Now. I raised an eyebrow. You seem upset, Marcus. Stressful day. He jabbed a finger at me. You're playing with fire, Linda. This is sabotage. Criminal. You might want to stop right there, I said, voice calm. You're 1 sentence away from making this personal. He froze. Jaw tight. Breathing heavy. But behind all that bravado, I saw fear. Real fear. I walked to my desk, opened my laptop, and spun the screen toward him. 94% of client operations offline. 156 breached SLAs. 31 lawsuits incoming. Board meeting called for emergency session. I tilted my head. Look familiar? Marcus's fists clenched. You're bluffing. Sarah shook her head. She's not, she said barely above a whisper. I checked. The clients are calling non-stop. Our phones are flooded. Jake added, we had to shut down the client portal. It kept sending corrupted data streams. They think we've been hacked. Oh, you were hacked, I said, folding my arms. By your own arrogance. Marcus's fury flickered into something smaller. More desperate. Fine, he snapped. Name your price. I let the silence stretch. Watched him stew in it. Then calmly walked to my bookshelf. Not for a laptop. Not for a flash drive. For a folder. Thick. Paper. Old school. Untouchable. Here's how this works, I said, placing it on the table. I give you the protocols to bring data sync back online. Clean. Fully functional. No bugs. No backdoors. Marcus squinted. And, I said with a cool smile, and I take what was always mine. 40% ownership of all data sync intellectual property, retroactive and future. Full reinstatement as Chief Technology Officer, effective immediately. A board seat. And a $8 million personal settlement for breach of intellectual trust. He opened his mouth, but I held up a finger. One more thing. A public statement, signed by you and the board, naming me as DataSync's primary architect and creator. No spin. No PR fluff. Full acknowledgement. Marcus blinked. You're insane. That's... I laughed. No, Marcus. Theft is what you tried. What I'm offering is restitution. Silence. Jake looked ready to disappear. Sarah didn't even flinch. You don't have a choice, I said. If DataSync stays down another hour, Meridian collapses. Clients sue. Investors flee. I snapped my fingers. Your empire. Gone. Marcus paced, running both hands through his hair. 8 million? You're insane. No, I repeated. 8 million is the discount rate. Because without DataSync, this company isn't worth $8. Marcus glared. And if I refuse? I didn't blink. Then DataSync stays offline. And you can explain to TechCrunch, Forbes, and the SEC why your flagship system collapsed the same day you fired its only architect. I let that hang. Should I send the class action contacts now or later? His mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. Nothing came out. Sarah finally spoke. Quiet but steady. She's right, Marcus. He whipped toward her. Excuse me. She stood, straightened her blazer. You think the board will back you over the person who built and saved this company? They'll see right through this. Through you. Through all of us. She glanced at me. Or worse, they'll think we planned it. Jake nodded, pale. Server logs show you revoked Linda's credentials. The paper trail is clear. I crossed my arms. Clock's ticking, Marcus. He stared at me. Hatred. Frustration. And finally, resignation. Fine, he growled. Draft the damn agreement. I smiled. Already did. I pulled clean papers from the folder and slid them across the table. Signed by me. Just waiting on you. Marcus's hand trembled as he picked up the pen. For a second, I thought he'd throw it across the room. But he didn't. He signed. One line. Then the next. And the next. Finished, he shoved the folder back toward me. It's done. I leaned in. Voice low. Controlled. No, Marcus. Now it's over. The next morning felt surreal. I wasn't walking into Meridian Marketing as an employee anymore. Not someone they could push aside. I walked in as what they never expected me to become. An owner. A board member. Their equal. Scratch that. Their superior. As the glass doors slid open, a wave of nervous glances rippled through the lobby. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Coffee cups froze in mid-air. Junior developers peeked over monitors. Oh, they knew. Word spreads fast when the CEO has to sign away nearly half the company's crown jewel just to keep the lights on. Sarah was waiting by the elevators. She gave me a look. Half relief, half amusement. Never seen Marcus that pale, she smirked. Better get used to it, I replied. Might be his new natural color. The elevator opened to the executive floor. The air felt thick. Charged. Like a storm had passed, but the aftershock lingered. I stepped into the boardroom like I owned it. Because technically, I did. At the far end sat Marcus. Still CEO. Still pretending to have authority. But everything about him looked smaller. His tie was perfect, hair freshly styled, but the confidence was gone. Linda, he greeted, forcing a smile. Welcome back. Thanks, I said, settling into my new chair. My seat. Opposite his. Though let's be clear. I didn't come back. I leveled up. A few board members chuckled. Quickly coughed to hide it. I placed the familiar folder on the table. Now stamped, notarized, and sent to every shareholder. Per our agreement, I said, flipping it open, DataSync is fully restored. System integrity verified. Client operations back online as of 7:15 a.m. Investor confidence stabilized. Marcus nodded stiffly. Much appreciated. I tilted my head. This isn't charity, Marcus. It's oversight. The word landed like a brick. I watched him flinch. Turning to the board, I continued. As of today, I am reinstated as Chief Technology Officer with a board seat and 40% intellectual ownership of DataSync and all related systems. Whitmore, the board chair, nodded. The documents are in order. Perfect, I smiled. Now let's talk about changes. The screen behind me lit up. Internal Security Audit Report. DataSync AI Threat Analysis. Marcus's face went pale. He knew what was coming. 3 months ago I began, Data Sync's AI flagged irregular activity. Unauthorized access attempts. Midnight logins. Replication of sensitive architecture. The slide changed. Timestamps. IP addresses. Usernames. His usernames. Murmurs rippled across the boardroom. These weren't external threats, I continued. They were internal. Targeting Data Sync's core repository. Specifically, I added, initiated by the CEO. Someone gasped. Another muttered, unbelievable. Marcus jumped to his feet. This is out of context. I was reviewing systems for. I raised my hand. Palm up. Sit. My voice was calm, steady, absolute. And for the first time in 4 years, he obeyed me. Per Section 12 of our shareholder agreement, I said, any executive involved in intellectual property tampering, sabotage, or activities deemed conflicting with company interests is subject to immediate disciplinary review. I clicked again. The next slide appeared. Recommendation, removal of CEO Marcus Chen. Dead silence. Whitmore leaned forward. Linda, you're formally recommending termination? Correction, I said. I'm demanding it. Marcus's eyes darted around the room, searching for backup. But the board wasn't looking at him anymore. They were looking at me. Whitmore exhaled. Given the evidence. He glanced around. Heads nodded. It's not just Linda's call. It's ours. Another member, Patricia, added, he endangered our product, our partnerships, and our reputation. This isn't just a mistake. It's grounds for dismissal. Marcus slammed both hands on the table. You can't do this. I built this company. I met his stare without blinking. No, Marcus. I built it. You just took the credit. The vote was unanimous. Effective immediately, Marcus Chen is removed as CEO of Meridian Marketing. Security was called. Marcus stood, trembling, red with rage. For a split second, I thought he might lunge at me. But he didn't. He just glared. That same glare bullies give when they finally meet resistance and lose. This isn't over, he hissed as security took his arm. I smiled. Oh, Marcus. It absolutely is. I turned back to the boardroom. Calm. Composed. But inside, I was electric. Let's begin, I said. There's a company to rebuild. Properly this time. The news spread like wildfire. By noon, every desk at Meridian knew Marcus was out. Linda was back. But not just back. In charge. Did you see them escort him out? She's CTO again. She owns half of DataSync now. Even the junior developers, ones who used to avoid eye contact when Marcus passed, were whispering behind screens, stealing glances as I walked by. I wasn't sure if it was respect, awe, or fear. Maybe all three. Didn't matter. There was work to do. By 2 p.m., I was in the war room. Glass walls, whiteboards packed with system diagrams, health dashboards everywhere. Status report, I said to the engineering leads. One stood. Core systems stable. APIs fully restored. Database integrity confirmed. No data loss. Client portals 92% functional. Remaining issues are cosmetic. I nodded. Push it to 100% by end of day. Then I turned to the legal manager. Lawsuit updates? She sighed. 5 pending. But after word spread that Marcus is out, 3 are backing down. 2 are undecided. I tapped my pen. Let me guess. Phoenix Retail Group and Southwest Logistics. She blinked. Yes. How did you? Because I built this company, I said, not even trying to hide the edge in my voice. I know every client better than Marcus ever did. Just as the conversation shifted toward stabilization, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Blocked ID. I considered ignoring it. Something in my gut said not to. Linda speaking. A smooth voice answered. Male. Polished. Too polished. Ms. Rodriguez. We should talk. Who is this? Call me Vincent. I represent certain interests. Interests. I echoed. You'll need to be more specific. A pause. I'm authorized to discuss a potential acquisition. I frowned. Of what? DataSync Pro. My stomach tightened. Not interested. It's a generous offer. Our client is prepared to pay 8 figures. I stood, walked to the window. Tell your client DataSync isn't for sale. Not today. Not ever. His voice remained calm. You might want to reconsider. This isn't a friendly request. There it was. The shift. The velvet peeled back, revealing the threat underneath. Was that supposed to scare me? I asked, turning from the glass. Because it's kind of adorable. Another pause. Think it over, Ms. Rodriguez. You'll hear from us again soon. Click. The line went dead. I stood still, processing. Then opened my laptop, logged into DataSync Security Console, and ran a full audit. Nothing. Clean. No breaches. No anomalies. Not yet, I muttered. But if someone wanted DataSync badly enough to offer 8 figures and follow up with a threat, this wasn't random. It was organized. Strategic. Calculated. And if there's one thing I'd learned from building DataSync, threats that escalate don't stop. Right then, Sarah stepped into the room. She paused, noticing my expression. Something's wrong. I nodded. Very. I summarized the call. Her face shifted from confusion to concern. Then something sharper. You think they're serious? She asked. I didn't answer right away. I just stared at the DataSync dashboard. The system that had become my greatest achievement was now my biggest target. I think, I said slowly, we just stepped onto a much bigger playing field. And the rules just changed. My inbox chimed. No sender. No subject. One line. Check your backdoor. Tick-tock. My blood turned cold. I yanked open the DataSync server logs. Scrolled. Scanned. And there it was. A ping. External. Small. Almost invisible. But real. Someone had found it. The backdoor I'd built. The same one that brought Marcus to his knees. Someone was knocking. The second I saw that ping, unauthorized, calculated, my hands went ice cold. Tick-tock. It wasn't subtle. It was a message. A warning. A countdown. I slammed my laptop shut, walked to the conference room door, and locked it. Sarah blinked. Linda, what is it? Someone found it, I said, voice flat. The failsafe. The one I used against Marcus. Her face drained of color. Can they use it against us? I shook my head. Not yet. Not unless they have the right credentials. But if they're knocking, they're already closer than they should be. Who? She whispered. Who even has the resources to find it? I stared at the dashboard. DataSync showed all green. All stable. But it felt like staring at a calm ocean, knowing a tsunami sat just beyond the horizon. This isn't just business anymore, I said quietly. It's something else. Something bigger. Sarah crossed her arms, eyes narrowing. They want DataSync. No, I corrected. They want control. Of DataSync. Of me. Of the data. Of everything. I pulled up the emergency operations terminal. Something only I had access to. A hidden layer buried beneath DataSync's core infrastructure. I typed, initiate full system lockdown protocol. Confirm Y/N. My fingers hovered. Locking it would block everyone, even internal teams, from the system's backbone. But it would also freeze Meridian. Linda, Sarah said softly, watching me. If you do this, it's going to hurt. Bad. I nodded. Yeah, but not as bad as letting them in. I hit Y. Lockdown initiated. DataSync dimmed. Not offline, but sealed. Fortified. Vaulted. Nothing in. Nothing out. Then my phone buzzed. Blocked number. Declined. Buzzed again. Declined. Then again. An email pinged seconds later. No subject. No sender. Just one line. Wrong move. Now we escalate. Almost immediately, the firewall lit up. Port scans, injection probes, DDoS floods, credential stuffing. They were throwing everything at us. This wasn't some script kiddie in a basement. This was industrial-grade cyber warfare. Jesus, Sarah muttered, watching the attack map pulse red across 6 continents. This is bad. Really bad. It's not bad, I said, fingers flying across the keys. It's an opportunity. She frowned. An opportunity? Yeah, I said, cracking a slight grin. They just showed their hand. I opened DataSync's Deep Trace protocol. A stealth layer I designed years ago. AI-driven threat analysis that could track attackers in real time. Now, I said, leaning in, we trace it back. I launched the protocol. The same AI-driven analysis that had once flagged Marcus's midnight logins. But this wasn't some clumsy CEO. This was a professional assault. And that made them easier to follow. The AI flagged a pattern. Repeated routing through a cloud cluster in Frankfurt, then bouncing to Singapore, then Sao Paulo. But Frankfurt was the weak link. A leased server from a shell corporation registered to Apex Strategic Solutions. I blinked. No way. Sarah leaned over. Who's that? I turned to her. Private equity giant. They've been quietly buying up data analytics firms for years, trying to monopolize the market. So they want DataSync? I shook my head. No. They want me gone so they can own it. Control it. License it globally on their terms. The AI flagged something else. Document metadata. Poorly scrubbed. An internal memo. Objective, acquire DataSync Pro by any means. Phase 1, remove creator. Phase 2, force acquisition under distressed conditions. Sarah's voice dropped. They backed Marcus. I nodded as the final puzzle piece clicked. He wasn't just greedy. He was leveraged. A new alert popped. Trace complete. Identity confirmed. Vincent Carter, Director of Digital Assets, Apex Strategic Solutions. There you are, I whispered. I opened a secure channel. Not through DataSync, but through a secondary protocol I'd built years ago. My dead man's switch. I compiled everything. The logs. The attack traces. The memo. The financial records. Then I sent it to 3 places. 1, the FBI Cybercrime Division. 2, the SEC. 3, TechCrunch, Wired, and Forbes. Let's see how they like exposure, I muttered. Within minutes, the attack slowed. Then stopped. My phone rang. Not blocked this time. Vincent, I answered. Linda Rodriguez speaking. His voice was cold but shaken. That was unnecessary. No, Vincent, I said. What was unnecessary was underestimating me. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. For witnessing. For standing quietly beside me through the betrayal, the blowback, and the battle I never wanted to fight but refused to lose. I'd love to hear what you think. Not just about the tech. About the fight. About standing up when you've been pushed down. Drop a comment. What would you have done in my shoes? Have you ever been underestimated, erased, or replaced? Share your story. Let's turn this space into something powerful. Because too many of us are taught to endure quietly instead of rising loudly. Here's what I've learned. What you build, your ideas, your time, your integrity, they matter. And when someone tries to steal that from you, you don't always need to scream. Sometimes the loudest thing you can do is press send on the truth. Calm. Measured. Undeniable. To anyone out there dealing with betrayal at work or being made to feel small, protect what's yours. Document everything. Know your worth before they tell you you're worthless. And never, ever hand over your power for the promise of stability. Loyalty doesn't mean silence. It means defending the line between right and wrong, even when your hands are shaking. If this story meant something to you, please consider subscribing. There's more to come. Because I'm not the only one who's been here. And I won't be the last. Let's build a community that believes in justice, strategy, and people who refuse to be deleted. Let them come for the system. We'll be waiting.